it's Cheryl here, and in today's video I thought I would bring you guys into my living room in a more intimate setting where I can have a more vulnerable conversation with you guys about the challenges of imposter syndrome that I felt in the last year in my life, and kind of some of the mindset changes that I had to shift in order to embrace but also overcome some of those thoughts that I had and challenges that I had to live through. So I thought to begin, I can probably give you guys a little bit of more context about who I am. So in last year, I think that's around 8 months now, 8 months ago, I was living the dream in Vancouver, Canada. I was from there, born there. All my friends and family live there. And in my career, I've been a brand manager for a CPG company, more so in healthcare actually, for the last 6 years of my life. Now, it was a very comfortable corporate job, and I did that for 6 years. And last year of August in 2019, me and my husband decided that we were going to try something new before we started a family. And we thought, it's probably the time to move to a different country and try a new lifestyle out, to not only grow personally, but also to grow our career wise, so we can try out different companies and different industries around the world. So long story short, we moved to Amsterdam in the Netherlands last year. Jesse, my husband, found a job here. Now we're in Amsterdam, and I decided to start a completely new business called Made on Sunday Studio, which is the name of this channel. And instead of doing what I was doing my whole life for the last 6 years in my career, I decided to try graphic design for the very first time. Now, as a brand manager, I don't know if you're familiar, but it's more of a marketing role and kind of more like a project management kind of role, where you work with graphic designers, you work with creative teams, and you do a lot of coordination and strategy, more on the marketing strategy kind of side, but I didn't actually do any of the creative work myself. So deciding to start a graphic design business, not only being an entrepreneur for the first time, but also trying a new skill for the first time, was overwhelming to say the least, right? So in October of 2019, I launched my business full-time, and that's what I did full-time here to make money while I lived here in the Netherlands. So that's kind of the super short Coles notes of my background, where I came from, and who I am today. Now, leading up to my launch in October of 2019, the launch of my business, as you can probably tell, it was challenging. It was a really, really challenging time for me, because everything was so new. I had this, identity when I was back home in Vancouver. I was, the hard worker. I had friends and family support. I was a brand manager for 6 years. I had coworkers and people who reported to me, who trusted me and my skill. I was chiseled as a person, and I had an identity in Vancouver, and everything came I was starting a brand new life in a new country with no friends, no family, no career, because I was starting a completely new career and a completely new style of working, because as you can probably tell, being a corporate, I don't know, it's super cheesy to call this, but a corporate warrior versus an entrepreneur, it's completely different kinds of skill sets. So with that came a huge ton of imposter syndrome, especially in the first few months of being in business and being in this new role, this new identity that I kind of created for myself. So I just wanted to explain a little bit more about why I felt that way, and to give more context also, if you don't know what imposter syndrome is, basically it's the consistent feeling of doubt in yourself and fear of being a fraud in what you do, being like you're not enough, you're not as good as the other people in similar roles as you. Yeah, all of those were exactly how I felt in the first few months of business, and it was hard. Not only was this all new for me, I had friends and family who were in this industry, were or are graphic designers today, professionals who's been to, schooling for it. And for me, I've never been to design school. I took a couple courses. I took this course called the Bucket List Bombshells. You should look them up, they're amazing. And they have this design course where it teaches you the basics of design, but also like how to run a design business. And I also took like a couple other like online courses and practice a lot basically, and that's kind of how I gained my skills with graphic design. But I never went to school for it, like no formal education or design school, and because of that, it was really hard to see myself as a professional in this field. And I think that was one of the core reasons why I felt like a fraud, especially when I was comparing myself to some of my friends or family members who actually went through, the longer process of becoming this graphic designer that they are today. And because I was new in business, I've also never worked in a setting where, I was the service provider and I'm giving service to a client. Like in my previous role, I was the client. So I worked with graphic designers and, I gave them feedback. I was the one giving direction and they were doing the service for me. So it was kind of like this reversal of a role, and just like the mindset that comes with it, it was really challenging for me to understand how to be that person, that service provider. So that kind of gives you some context into, I guess, why I felt like an imposter in what I was doing, especially with my career. And so I thought I would share kind of what I realized were 4 major limiting beliefs that I had that led to feeling this imposter syndrome. So the first limiting belief that I was struggling with was I can't start because I haven't learned everything yet. And this was a really big struggle for me because not only was I not trained or professionally been to school for any of what I was planning to charge people to offer to the world, I had so many ideas when I was starting this business. You get really excited when you start a new project. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna become a brand designer. I'm gonna create logos for people. I'm gonna create websites, and obviously that comes hand in hand with like video production and all this stuff that what I thought a designer can offer, like everything, like infographics, whatever. And having that thought or feeling like I need to be able to provide all of these services now that I'm a graphic designer really overwhelmed me. I felt like if I wasn't able to do all of these things and offer all of these things, then I can't possibly become a graphic designer yet. I'm not that person yet. But one of the mindset changes that was profound for me was what I learned was to only offer what I was comfortable at right now and to start small. And that was huge for me. I realized, it seems so simple to just say it like this now that I'm thinking back, but I as a graphic designer, I don't need to be able to offer everything that a graphic designer can do. I can focus, I can niche, and knowing that, it kind of helped me, process those overwhelm that I had in my head. I started out with only offering, specific packages on my website. So even to this day on my website, I only offer brand design, specifically logo work. I do mood board, I do logo work. I then create some elements, colors, fonts, and perhaps a business card. And that's pretty much all I talk about on my website. And I've created specific packages saying what's in each package. And those are the things that I am comfortable with offering right now because that's where my skills are limited to at this moment. Basically, you don't need to offer the world when you start anything new. You can start small. That's the wonders of being a business owner, is that you get the choice of what you offer to the world. So start small, start at something that's more manageable, and just do it. Just launch your business, especially if you're in the service-based industry. Start with what you would like to offer first, and then as a business owner down the road, you can always add on services literally at any time. So don't let the overwhelm stop you from moving forward. You can really decide to start small and then add on your services later on. All right, so on to my second limiting belief, and that is, what if my client asked me to do something that I don't know how to do? And this was a huge struggle for me. I had so much anxiety getting on to potential client calls when I first started, because I was so worried that I'm gonna be asked a question that I'm not knowledgeable about, or they asked for something where I didn't know how to do. And that honestly, I felt paralyzed a lot of time. I had so much anxiety just picking up the phone to call my clients. So one thing that I learned was through reading Marie Forleo's book, Everything is Figure Outable. And the whole premise of the book is basically that you don't know everything to begin with, and that's totally okay, and that everything eventually is figure outable. Like, it's really that simple. And don't let the idea that you don't know something paralyze you, because we have so many resources these days. We have Google search, we have Facebook groups where you can ask people for that are more experienced in that field for more advice. You can reach out to mentors or family and friends who might be more well known in this area than you. Just ask, and I'm sure like everything is just steps to get to the solution. So it is figure outable. But I guess one of the core reasons why this was a challenge for me was that I was worried that I'd be stumped in terms of, like, what do I say on the spot? Like, I understand everything is figure outable, but on the spot, if a client were to say something that I didn't know how to answer, like, that was what I was most afraid about. And that might just be me, but what I learned was that it's okay to not give an answer on the spot on a client call, So if a client were to ask you, let's say when I first started, I didn't offer websites. And if a client asked me, hey, after I create a logo with you, can you also create my website? And I'd be like, oh my gosh, like, I don't offer websites. I don't know anything about websites. Like, what do I say? Honestly, the client just wants to hear a straight answer. And you can either, one, go, you know what, I don't offer websites, but I can give you some recommendations for other great website designers, and you can get back to them on it. You don't have to give a response right away. Or two, you can simply just say, right now, I'm not offering this service, but let me get back to you and we'll see if we can work something out. So if it is a question, like a more simple question, like in this scenario, if you just don't offer website design, then you don't offer it. Just straight up tell them. But if it was just a quick question and answer, like let's say it is something to do with logos, like, oh, can you create a video version of or animated version of my logo? All you have to say, if you don't know if you can offer that right now, is let me get back to you on that, and I'll see if I can provide that to you. That's all you have to say. You do not have to provide a solution on the spot. You do not have to give an answer on the spot. Simply just let them know that you will get back to them, and then you can do your Google search, go to your mentors and ask your questions, and then just simply email them or get on a follow-up call with them. So don't let that, I guess, limiting thought stop you or create anxiety in you in getting on that call with your client, because your client does not expect you to have all of the answers on the spot. All right, so my third limiting belief that I had when I was starting my graphic design business was, what if a client asks for my credentials? Oh my gosh, I was so scared that this question would come up. And let me tell you a secret, 8 months later into starting this business, I have never been asked once about my credentials, whether I've been to design school, whether I've done this for years. Like, I actually make it really obvious on my website that I am new in this space. I talk about my story, how I just started my business, where I came from in brand management on my website. And your clients do not care if you've been to schooling for what you are about to offer them. All they care about is whether you can do the job in the style that they like it in, right? And to do this, you're like, well, Cheryl, I've never done this before. It's brand new. So how do I show them, if I haven't been to school for graphic design, how do I show my clients that I can do what they need in the style that they need it in? And that's where mock projects come in, creating a portfolio. And this was so helpful when I was taking the Bucket List Bombshells courses. They actually provided mock clients that I can create mock projects for, which will then become my portfolio. But even if you didn't take the course, you can create your own self-mock projects. So basically you can just define, a business, or let's say it's a nail design business for females. It's by a female owner, and they want something that's astrology related. Maybe their name's gonna be like Moon Design or something, and just create those like a dream client of yours, and then create with that. So create a mock project, do your designs, do your logos, colors, fonts, whatever it is that you are offering as a service, and then put that in a beautiful mock-up template that you can buy online and put it in your portfolio. And obviously you want to be able to attract your dream clients. So when you're coming up with those mock projects, come up with what your dream client might be asking for. So if your style is more minimalistic, then create a minimalistic portfolio. Design it so that when an ideal client sees your portfolio, they know, okay, well, Cheryl's done something like this before. It looks really similar to my style that I want for my business. I love this style. I'm gonna go with her. And that's all a client is looking for. Never have I once been asked for my credentials. It's more so whether I can get the job done. So prove to them that you can get the job done. by creating your mock portfolio. All right, so the fourth and final limiting belief that I had when I was starting my graphic design business is, why would a client trust me over a more experienced graphic designer? And this one really hurt me and hurt my heart because it was so challenging for me. I kind of talked about how I had friends and family who were professional graphic designers or have been professional graphic designers in the past. And I was almost embarrassed to tell them that I suddenly want to change careers with no education at all, suddenly start charging people for a skill that no one has ever seen me do before, or never has anyone ever identified me as a graphic designer before in my circle of family and friends. So this was really, really challenging for me to overcome, because looking at them, they're so professional, right? So why wouldn't a client rather go for them than to go with me? And so one thing that I've learned over time, now that I've worked with a handful of clients and I'm a little bit more confident in what I do, is that I actually have a lot to offer. More than just, when people hire you as a graphic designer, they're not necessarily just hiring you. Obviously, you need to be able to get the job done, but they're not just hiring you for the design. They're actually hiring you for you. And I had so much more to offer than just the design that I can do. You know, I came from a brand management perspective. I was in the corporate world for CPG/healthcare company for many years. So I had a ton of soft skills that made me unique as a graphic designer. I came from the client side, so I understood what a client of a graphic design company would want as a client. You know, I knew how to give feedback as a client. I knew how to communicate clearly as a client. So now that I'm working on the other side, I knew what my client is looking for, what kind of questions might come up. I also was in a corporate setting, so I was really good with creating processes, project management, how to communicate in a more professional manner. These are just soft skills that I have built over time being in a corporate position. I was also unique because I came from a CPG, which is consumer packaged goods / healthcare mindset. So I was in that industry. So I knew a lot about rules and regulations in that space. I knew about having products on shelf. I knew about, that healthcare / wellness industry in general. So that made me really unique. And yes, I might lack in my technical skills in terms of as a graphic designer right now, but I'm not catering to every single client in the world. I'm really just focusing on what I can deliver right now, which is logos, fonts, colors, and some easy marketing materials. But I also have all of these different soft skills that make me unique as a graphic designer. And if you're thinking about like, hey Cheryl, like I didn't come from brand management or marketing, I'm a nurse, or I'm an admin associate and I want to get into graphic design, you also have a lot of soft skills. So kind of think about what you've done in the past, even if it's not career related. Let's say it's in university and you have become maybe you usually design the aesthetics of group projects, or maybe you're a really good communicator, or you are really great with coming up with solutions in the past, or you're a really great speaker. All of these things make you unique as a graphic designer. And at the end of the day, your client is hiring you not just for your designs, but they're hiring you because you are unique. So that kind of sums up the 4 limiting beliefs that I completely struggled with when I first started my business. And I have to say, 8 months into my business right now, I still struggle with these sometimes day to day. And I do believe that people need a certain level of stress in their day, and some like these limiting beliefs or these feelings of imposter syndrome are just natural. They are bound to happen, and if they're not happening to you, then maybe you're not challenging yourself enough into something that might be more uncomfortable for you, something that will help you grow. So I do believe that it's natural to feel this way, but having these mindset changes that I talked about in this video really helped me remind myself. So when this limiting belief does come up, I remind myself like, hey, I can shift my mindset this way and see it from a different perspective. And honestly, it has changed my world as a business owner, but also specifically as a graphic designer in the creative entrepreneur space. So I hope this has helped you, whether you are planning to start a graphic design business or any other creative entrepreneur kind of space, specifically for service-based industries, or if you're an artist or whatever. In the beginning, it's a struggle. It's a struggle for everyone, but you can overcome them, you can embrace them, and I completely believe in you. So I hope this has helped you, and if you like this video, please give this video a like and subscribe. If you're more interested in content about branding, design, and creative entrepreneurship, I typically upload videos every Sunday, so please ring the notification bell and you'll see when the next video comes up. Bye!